is causing teenagers to be exposed to more anorexia content. It is pulling families apart. And in places like Ethiopia, it's literally fanning ethnic violence.
That's Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen testifying before a U.S. Senate panel today, calling her former employer's products dangerous and toxic. She pointed specifically to its algorithms, driving users to more and more extreme content, and she urged lawmakers to intervene. Now, we've heard calls to regulate Facebook before, but is it possible? And if so, what would it look like? Let's bring in two experts to explore that. A former Facebook data scientist who blew the whistle about fake accounts used by political parties abroad, Sophie Jung, and media and public policy expert Joan Donovan. So, Sophie, maybe I'll start with you if I could. I mean, we heard a lot of talk today about the need for oversight, but also this more severe idea of breaking up Facebook itself, which of course includes Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, too much power over dialogue and communication in the hands of a single profit-driven entity. You've been on the inside. At this point, in your mind, what is the way forward?
I think the way forward is more oversight. And then where people have suggested breaking up Facebook, as you said, but breaking up Facebook by itself won't solve the issues at hand. It's essentially an orthogonal solution, because there's no guarantee that smaller companies will even have the resources that will devote them to solving the problems at hand.
In your mind, the issue there is internal, right? In the sense of moderation or the algorithms that sort of steer decisions around moderation.
Exactly. Like simply breaking them up while doing nothing else won't do anything to address those. We need essentially a multi-pronged solution that tackles this from multiple angles at the same time.
Joan, can I get your insight into this? Because we kept hearing this comparison today between big tech and big tobacco. Even the U.S. Surgeon General a couple of months ago, I believe it was, spoke of misinformation being a public health hazard, likening it to secondhand smoke. How should we understand the current state of affairs, the status quo?
Yeah, I've given testimony in front of Congress and the Senate using the very same analogies here about secondhand smoke. And so I think that as we think about this issue, and Sophie's very right, this is a global issue. So we need a very far-reaching task force that's going to understand, well, what will happen when Facebook is broken up, and what kind of services and public interest internet needs to be installed in different countries so that people don't lose service to this amazing thing that we've all built together collectively, but one company has really dominated, and at this stage needs to be regulated as different countries see fit.
Sophie, I've mentioned a couple times now that you've seen how it works from the inside, having worked at Facebook. Is there any hope for the problem to be solved from within?
I tried from my very start to solve the problem from within. When I found problems, I spoke to other teams. I spoke to middle management, to leadership, to everyone up to and including Guy Rosen, who's the vice president at Facebook. And I was a very low-level employee, so this was very unusual. And when that didn't work, I kept escalating it further, and when that didn't work, eventually I was told to stop. I was being fired. I offered to stay on unpaid as a volunteer through the U.S. 2020 elections because I thought it was important for me to do so. When that didn't work, I wrote my farewell memo to employees explaining the problems that I saw at hand and what the work I had done before departing. And when that didn't work, I spoke out publicly. And you might have seen that Facebook has criticized Frances today for speaking out about matters that she didn't personally work on. That is a common criticism of Facebook towards its critics. And it's for that reason that I tried very hard to speak out publicly only on the matters that I personally worked on, that I was the indisputable expert on, except Facebook decided to dispute it anyways.
Make this real clear for me. What would a clampdown, if there is to be one, on Facebook or even other companies like it, what would that actually look like to transform something that is driven by profit, it is a business, into something maybe driven by the public interest?
It's a good and it's a broad question, but I think part of it starts with having equal access to the infrastructure of the internet, which means We need broad public works programs that bring Wi-Fi to the public. And we also have to think about, well, what are the ways that people should be connected? And do we want one company to have so much power across so many different applications that hundreds of millions of people use to communicate? And I don't think that it's safe, not just for the US, but for the globe, to depend so much on one company. And so I do think that when we talk about having an internet in the public interest, what we're really talking about is what is the web, the World Wide Web that we deserve, and that will be built and funded with public money so that companies can't encroach on our rights and can't take away services that we need daily.
I want to thank you both for joining us tonight. Great discussion. Sophie Jung, a former Facebook employee turned whistleblower. Joan Donovan, the research director of the Harvard Kennedy School's Shorenstein Center on Media Politics and Public Policy. Thank you both so much.
Thank you very much.